Welcome to Real Truth and Power Live, where we provide powerful content to uplift the Black community. We're going to let a couple of people get into the building, so we're going to start in a couple of seconds. We're not going to be holding you guys up too long. We want to get right into the information. And we're going to be talking about Who Killed Malcolm X, the new Netflix series. Give a couple of seconds, let a couple of people into the building. All right, let's get into it. Welcome to Real Truth and Power Live, again, where we provide powerful content to uplift the Black community. And there's a new series on Netflix called Who Killed Malcolm X. For those that don't know, one of the first books I ever read, and when I say ever read, I mean read on my own, was the autobiography of Malcolm X. And, you know, my mother had given me a book I read one time by one of my favorite players, probably the greatest basketball player of all time, and not Michael Jordan, Kareem Abdur-Jabbar. It was called Giant Steps, and it was his autobiography. But Malcolm X, that was the book that I got on my own. I said, I want to research this brother. I want to find out more about Malcolm X. One of the main reasons was my father was a Muslim. He studied Islam, but he didn't force it on us. You know, we would pray, we would watch him pray. I would try to get down and pray with him, but he never taught me or anything like that. So I think one of the things I tried to do was reading that book was maybe trying to get a better understanding of my dad, to learn Islam a little bit. I didn't know. I had to read that book. And reading that book, I kind of fell in love with Malcolm as a man. I wanted to be like Malcolm. And that was very important to me. In fact, my favorite rap of all time, and for people that know me will know my favorite rap of all time is KRS-One. And KRS-One meant a lot to me because he was influenced by Malcolm X. So I went into, learning about KRS-One. As you can see right here, Malcolm has the gun, KRS has a gun. Malcolm had a great speech called, where he was saying, by any means necessary. And KRS' second album was By All Means Necessary. And positivity. When you see them with the gun, it doesn't mean you're a gangster. It means you're fighting for your rights. You're going to protect yourself, your community, your family, by any means necessary. And I was just a huge KRS fan. I love Malcolm. And those two people kind of let me understand you can be intelligent. You can be hard. You could be a gangster, but you don't have to be a hood gangster or a drug dealer gangster. You can be an intelligent gangster. And I just really love KRS and I love Malcolm. And like I said, one of the reasons I got into Malcolm was because my dad was a Muslim. I wanted to get a sense of him. And so I studied Malcolm and I started trying to be like Malcolm. And in a sense, those things made me the person I am today. As you can see here, I'm always doing something that's Malcolm X inspired, from this to just, I just love Malcolm. But that's one of the reasons why I was really moved by this documentary. It was just very moving to me because I wanted to know what happened to one of my idols. What really happened? Now let's talk about Malcolm for a minute. And for those that know the brief history of the situation, Malcolm was in the Nation of Islam. I believe it's the FOI at the time. I'm not sure which one it was, Followers of Islam and Nation of Islam, but he was one of Elijah Muhammad's prodigies, and he followed Elijah Muhammad, and he did a lot of the things that he followed. Everything he did was through Elijah Muhammad, and they had a falling out. During that time, his camp, Elijah Muhammad's camp, there was some violence. There was a rift, and people blame, the followers of Elijah Muhammad, and said they had something to do with it. Some people said the government had something to do with it. This documentary is phenomenal because it talks about a lot of the things, and they have tapes that the government was trying to create beef between Malcolm and Elijah's followers. So the government had a lot to do with it. As far as informants, there were informants in Malcolm's camp, top people that were police officers that he didn't even know. In fact, when he got killed, one of the people, and he's in the Who Killed Malcolm X Netflix documentary, talks about, they show him giving Malcolm mouth to mouth, and he was actually a police officer. In fact, there was a white police officer in the documentary saying, you weren't supposed to do that. You're supposed to do your job, observe and report. So it's crazy that during the funeral of Malcolm X, during the time of Malcolm X's life, I'm sorry, not funeral, but during the time of his life before he was killed, police informants were all in his camp. So they were in Elijah Muhammad's camp. There were so many informants of things of that nature that it's just crazy. So we can blame the government. We can blame people that the followers of Elijah Muhammad. We can blame a lot of people, but who really killed him? Who pulled the trigger? And that's what this documentary really gets to. And it gets to all of this stuff around it. So let's get into the documentary a little bit. I'm going to talk about it, tell you about it, but not give you too much because I want you guys to, support the brother. Again, this is on Netflix. It's a Netflix documentary. And the Netflix is going around the activist Abdur-Rahman Muhammad, and he begins his own investigation into the murder of Malcolm. And he starts researching. He gets FBI reports and things of that nature. Now, let me go back a little bit, because before this Netflix series, there is a book. There's a book by Manning Marable. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing the brother's name right. The book is by Manning Marable. There's the book there. And he's talking about the same things that are in the Netflix documentary. And I believe the book was published in 2011. And I believe it got an award, Pulitzer Award, or I believe something like that, in 2012, like a year later. So the book must be definitely phenomenal. I never read about it, but I did do some research on the book. And in that book, he talks about the real killer. And so if you guys want to research and get information, start off with this book if you like, or watch the Netflix documentary, and then get the book. But the book is, I believe it's A Life of Reinvention, Malcolm X by Manning Marable. But let's get back into the Netflix documentary. But in that book, he's talking about a lot of the things that they're talking about in the documentary. I just wanted to make sure you guys knew about that. But in the Netflix documentary, they talk about the real killers. Now, there was a man by the name of Thomas Hagen. He was one of the guys that served a lot of time. In fact, there was two brothers that served a lot of time. These brothers were innocent. In fact, the guy that was actually caught, he was in there, somebody hit him, I believe shot him or something, and they were beating him up outside. And they talk about this all in the documentary, in the series. He admitted some kind of involvement and actually stated names. He was snitching a little bit. He stated some names. And one of the names he mentioned was a brother, I can't remember, Clarence X or something like that. I'm not exactly sure. And they showed that the FBI had information on this brother. They had information on him, but they didn't proceed. So that's crazy in its own right. But you know, the brother that's going through the documentary, he starts researching. He gets into a lot of research um, and starts tracking the man down. Brother Muhammad starts tracking the man down. And yeah, so it's really crazy. It's really crazy. The brother that's supposed to have really killed Malcolm, his name is Mustafa Shabazz. Al Mustafa Shabazz. And what's crazy is the FBI had information on him. He's from Newark, and there was a community. All of these brothers were from Newark, and they were the ones that had assassinated Malcolm X. Two innocent brothers did time. So let's stop right there. Can you imagine you doing time for murdering Malcolm X, and you didn't have anything to do with it? You didn't have anything to do with the murder. You weren't there at the time. There's no evidence to show that you weren't there. The guy that's caught says, no, them two brothers, they didn't have anything to do with it. They didn't have anything to do with it. Yet and still, they prosecute him. The FBI has information on the real killer. They don't do anything about it. Let's just pause on that alone. The brother Thomas Hagen kept saying that he was innocent. I believe that's his name. Hopefully I'm wrong on that. But the brother said, hey, I'm innocent. I'm innocent. I didn't do this. And we want to know why they didn't go after the real killer. You know, those are things. And here is a picture of the brother right there, Al Mustafa Shabazz. And I hope I'm pronouncing this brother's name right as well. That's a picture of him. So the story goes into showing that he's been arrested several times for having a shotgun. That was his thing. It was a shotgun that single-handedly killed Malcolm. He was able to walk away and get away free. And no one followed up on this guy. So it's kind of emotional because it Brother Muhammad starts investigating a lot of people, and they go into, he brings up wounds. In fact, the school that Al Mustafa Shabazz went to is now named after Malcolm X. So we have to start looking at the time frame, the mood. You know, you were either follower Malcolm or you were follower of Elijah Muhammad. And, you know, if someone killed Malcolm back then and you were follower Elijah Muhammad, you might not have lost any sleep over it. And then as years went on, you start to see, man, it wasn't worth it. There were informants, FBI people were involved. They were sending false letters and lying, trying to create a beef between Elijah Muhammad and Malcolm X. And the reason they were doing that is because they really feared Malcolm. Malcolm was starting to become international. He had a gift to talk to the people, and they were really worried about Malcolm, more so than Elijah Muhammad. And Malcolm was starting to talk about going to the United Nations. In fact, Hoover, head of the FBI, and it says it in the documentary, and this is well known as well, he is saying that a lot of times, he is saying that there will be a black Messiah. He was worried about a black Messiah uplifting the black people. And he was really worried that was Malcolm. So Elijah Muhammad's can't, and I'm not saying that Elijah Muhammad wanted the brother dead. In the documentary, they're saying that the most honorable Elijah Muhammad said, don't touch Malcolm, leave him alone. Um, these brothers from Newark, they was like, we're going to get Malcolm. They show the one brother that was caught talks about how they planned the attack. They were going to, start a little fight in the back to distract people, and guys in front was going to get Malcolm. And the brother escaped, said he just walked out, escaped under the crowd, and he was able to get away. So this is really emotional for me because this brother got off. And I believe when Brother Muhammad, again, he is the one that is the historian going around doing all the research in the documentary. When he, gets close to talking to the brother passes away. But during the documentary, the brother's alive. And he's trying to get to him. He's talking to people that know him. And they're like, nah, man, let it be. Don't go in there. Don't talk to him because we don't want that problem. And the brother wound up being a predominant person in the community. He wound up getting himself together and helping out the community. So this touches a lot of wounds. This touches a lot of wounds with Malcolm. And it hits home for where we are today as far as becoming a community. Whenever there's a movement, there's another movement. We can't have two movements going on at the same time. One movement is disrespecting the other movement. It's like we can't get unity in our community. And nothing has changed from that. It talks about how Malcolm's finances were very low during the time of his death. It goes into Malcolm's last year of life, which was probably his most stressful. It gets really deep, man. And I got really emotional because I'm a huge Malcolm fan. Don't get me wrong. I love a lot of the lessons from Elijah Muhammad. The book How to Eat to Live is a phenomenal book. Maybe it could be updated in a lot of ways, but for back then, just educating Black people on what to eat, what not to eat, how to take care of your body. No one was doing that back then. So I don't want you guys to think that because I'm a follower of Malcolm that I had issues with Elijah. But I just really love Malcolm as a person and how he represented himself, how he carried himself. So I'm not sure if you guys read it, his autobiography. I'm not sure if you guys have knew about the Manning Marable book. And again, I'm gonna put that up here so you guys can do a little research on it. But Manning Marable was the first person to mention the brother that really killed him, and he put it out there. And so that was one of the first things, and I wasn't even aware of that book. Al-Mustafa Shabazz denied the book. He denied killing Malcolm. So let's put that out there. But Brother Muhammad starts getting some facts. That the FBI had him. He's been locked up a couple of times because carrying a shotgun. He goes into the reports. He goes into the, I'm sorry, I went blank there. The autopsy reports. They show that a shotgun, kind of what Al-Mustafa Shabazz used to get locked up for, was known to carry, killed Malcolm. So it's like, wow. And man, it's kind of sad because, you want justice. But I want to go back and I want to make this known that one of the saddest things is that the killer that actually killed Malcolm wasn't arrested, and they locked up two people that did a bid that didn't kill him. And it's just sad because this goes back to law enforcement. And it goes back to a time where they didn't care who killed Malcolm or not. They're just going to lock a black person up and convict him. So that's something that's alarming in its own right. And we want to get, we want to get to the truth of things. And they're just, hey, yeah, just lock these two brothers up. The guy that admitted to being involved, did his time, said that those two guys didn't have anything to do with it. The documentary is just phenomenal because it talks about a lot of those things. While we get going, please hit the like and subscribe button. We want to get this information out to all the people. So please hit that like and subscribe button. Let's get all this information out to the people. It's very important. A lot of people don't know about the documentary. A lot of people don't care about the documentary, but it's always good to revisit our leaders, revisit that time, find out what happened. And it's very alarming to find out the injustice that the police department, the FBI was doing. The documentary really disturbed me because the guy that gave Malcolm mouth to mouth when he was shot was a police officer. He was like one of he was an informant, became one of Malcolm's right-hand people. And he's in there talking about he was an informant. There was another guy, one of Elijah Muhammad's right-hand people, an informant. And they're asking him, how do you feel about that? You would tell him to the police. In fact, I believe this brother went to the FBI and Edgar Hoover turned them down. He said, not at this time. And he was just telling to be telling. It's just crazy. So, when we start talking about Malcolm, when we start talking about being positive in our community and how great Elijah Muhammad, the followers of Islam, the Nation of Islam could have been, it's just crazy. And these things are still going on right now. So, I hope you guys can check out the documentary. Again, I don't want to give too much, and it's a lot. You're talking about a man's life. The documentary starts off talking about, how he got into Islam and stuff like that, I believe. But it's really about his last years, the fallout with Malcolm X. They're talking about Malcolm at his low point, and I'll touch base on that a little bit. I think they was stating that Malcolm knew his time was up when, Muhammad Ali kind of was like, Malcolm's his own man. I'm rolling with Elijah. It's just a lot, and I don't want to give too much about it. But I wanted to touch on the documentary. I liked it. I really liked it. And then I started researching, and I found out about, the other book by Manning Marable. And for those that want to know what happened to Brother Al-Mustafa Shabazz, he passed away. I believe I said that, but he passed away. Like, the guy was going to go see him, and he got a phone call and was like, he passed away. So these are it's just very emotional, to see Malcolm's wife, Miss Betty, and after he passed, they were asking her questions, and she was just in a daze, like, they were like just asking the question. She wasn't even answering. I just got really emotional about it. It's something that I think time will heal wounds, but it hasn't for his family. It hasn't for his family. And I think that we can all learn a lot by watching this documentary of who killed Malcolm X. I think that it's important to get truth, to get resolve, to get closure, to find out the truth. And for Malcolm's family to get justice. Justice has not been served. The brother died. He never served time for the murder. And more importantly, it seems that everyone in the community knew that two of those brothers had nothing to do with it. Everyone knew. There was no proof. They weren't there. You know, when does the conspiracies, the injustices stop? When does it stop? So please check out this documentary. It's very important for our community to just get closure in a lot of regards and move on. But we got to go backwards to move forward. That's what I believe. We got to move backwards to go forward. Again, the series is on Netflix. I believe it's like 8 or 9 episodes. I watched every one. I was locked in to every one. And it makes you just think about where we are as a community today, and how we can grow. So we got a lot of things coming up with Real Truth and Power. Again, please check out our podcast. We're on iTunes. We're all over the place. Wherever there's a podcast, you can find Real Truth and Power. We're doing a lot of positive things. We got a lot of positive interviews coming up. Stay tuned. Again, please subscribe the video. And, we're going to be interviewing a lot of people that's going to uplift our community. So I wanted to put that in there. And again, just please, it's on Netflix if you don't have Netflix. And also, if you don't have Netflix or you're not into the cable right now, trust me, definitely try to get the book. And I'm going to get that book too by Manning Marable. The book is called The Reinvention, I believe, of Malcolm X. It's a good book. I haven't read it yet, but again, it won an award. So I'm going to assume that it's a phenomenal book. And I want you guys to, go forth and learn on your own. Get the results on your own. That's the best thing I can tell you. Go on and get the information on your own. Learn, research, things of that nature. So check out our website, realtruthandpower.org, www.realtruthandpower.org. My name again is Everett Winchester. We're going to have a lot of information for you guys coming up, a lot more interviews. We're going to be having shows where you can call in. So we're going to be putting that out there. So please, if you want to email us, realtruthandpower@gmail.com, realtruthandpower@gmail.com. If you want to learn when a new show is coming on to be a caller. If you have a business and you want to promote your business and it's black-owned business, hey, we will interview you, promote your business. That's what we're all about. It's uplifting the community, providing information. And, man, you guys just got to check it out. It is a great documentary about Malcolm X. Again, I don't want to give too much because I want you really to watch. I want you guys to really watch the documentary of Who Killed Malcolm X. So we're going to tune out. Didn't have too much to say today. I just wanted to really talk about the Who Killed Malcolm X. And please, tell me how you like the series. Special shout out to Brian Shaw, who told me about it. My guy, he knows I'm a huge Malcolm guy. And, just let us know what your thoughts are about it. If you get this on our Facebook page or YouTube, put a comment in. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if it was informative, if it wasn't. And, hey, stay tuned. We back at it, man. Glad to be back. Glad to be here to give you guys the knowledge. So we're out of here. Again, thank you so much for tuning in to Real Truth and Power, for supporting us. It's been a uplifting year. but we've stayed at it. We've kept with the work, and now we're back with another season. We're motivated. We're happy to provide all this information for you guys, and I know you guys are going to be really excited about some of the new things that we got going on. So I'm going to be out. We got another show coming up soon, and I don't want to tell you too much about it. Please like, please subscribe, and promote, share it, send it out. Let everybody know we're here, okay? All right, Real Truth and Power. My name is Everett Winchester. Check out that Netflix, Who Killed Malcolm X? One love. Hotel. Thank you for tuning into Real Truth and Power. Real Truth and Power is providing powerful content to uplift the Black community. Please check out our Patreon, and thank you for tuning in.